Hi, we're Dan and Carol, and we wanted to share that next week, which is May the 17th to the 23rd, is International Coaching Week, which is worldwide, isn't it?
It's celebrated worldwide. It's an opportunity for the coaching world to share with the public what coaching is all about and to be able to celebrate the fact that we have this coaching profession.
And before we talk about coaching, I was just thinking about the word mentoring as well. Over the years, I've had a bunch of different mentors, people that I've aspired to be like, whether it was people that I was following with, their books or their audio or things like that, or perhaps people in my own life. I had a principal who was a real mentor of mine, and I wanted to be like those people and emulate them. And yet coaching is different than that.
Yeah, that's similar to the difference between mentoring and coaching or things like counselors or therapists. It's totally different too. Typically in those cases, mentors, therapists, coaches, it's where those people are sort of telling you, sharing what they've learned or telling you how to live your life.
Yeah.
Whereas coaching is totally different than that.
Yeah.
Coaching is more, well, it's solution oriented. It's forward moving. It's about helping you to become more aware of thoughts, words, actions, and to make some different choices.
Yeah, and I love my coaches, which I have right now, one of them, asks questions and supports me to draw out my own answers rather than telling me what to do. And that really, to me, is a powerful piece of coaching.
Yeah, and the best coaches make you feel really uncomfortable.
Yeah, it hurts.
At times. But they love you through it all, which is a really cool thing. Now, there are a variety of different coaches. I mean, the coaching principles, I think, are all pretty similar, and yet, coaches will find a special niche somewhere where they specialize, where they love to work. I mean, there are executive coaches. Some of the top executives in the world, many of them use coaches. There are retirement coaches, health coaches, leadership
business
coaches, life coaches, career coaches. Our specialty happens to be relationships.
Yeah. And part of that for us is that we know that relationships are at the core of everything we do. So, if I were living in a cave oming away, I probably wouldn't have any of the challenges that I seem to have in life. And yet, that's not what I choose. I choose to be in relationship with Dan and in relationship with others, and that's where challenges kind of come up.
Well, and oftentimes the real challenges come in the relationship with self.
Oh, I didn't want to go there. That's way too deep.
So there, in the relationship coaching that we do, there really are 5 principles that we work with. Do you want to share some of them, Carol?
Sure. The first principle is that each person is absolutely okay. They're not broken. They don't need to be fixed. They are just totally perfect the way they are.
Another principle is that you're totally resourceful. You've got all of the skills, abilities, knowledge, talents within to achieve, do, be whatever it is that you want.
Yeah. Another principle is that you make the very best decisions in any moment, given the information that you have. Now, that doesn't mean that, as time goes by, that perhaps you look back and go, whoops, now that I know what I know, maybe I could have done something different. However, in the moment, you make the very best choices based on what information.
That ties really well with the next principle, which is there is a positive intention to every behavior. A positive intention. Again, I look back on things that I've done and we go, oh boy, that was not really, where was the positivity there? And yet there's at the base, at some level of consciousness, there is a positive intention, whether it be, to feel a little more power or to be safe or to gain some control, or there's always some positive intention, which really ties in well with the principle you talked about, because I think it allows us to be a little more curious and maybe forgiving of ourselves and others.
Yeah, that's true. And the final principle is that change is inevitable. It's going to happen. And with coaching, you get to be able to decide whether you're at the, you're initiating the change, whether you're in charge basically, or whether you're responding to life around you, because change will happen. And so being in the driver's seat, I kind of like being there.
And part of our relationship coaching, our vision is to help people to create their relationships by their own design rather than accept what comes along by default.
Yeah, there's power in that.
So coaching really, it's about, people think, what's the return on investment and the return on energy or experience. And you used a great term earlier. We were talking about, what was that, about minuscule to monumental or something?
Yeah, and what I meant by that was that sometimes the shifts that I make within as I coach are really, to the outside person, like, no big deal. And yet they're sometimes the biggest things in my life. They have the greatest amount of impact just by choosing a few different words that I say something to you, and just by choosing to say it slightly differently, then I get different results that are really monumental in my life.
Absolutely.
And it happens in other places too.
And the results are always measurable. That's the cool thing, is about helping people to determine the results they're getting and to be able to measure them along the way. Small incremental steps that make the big difference.
Yeah, and those results aren't always, although they're measurable, they're not always scientifically quantifiable, so to speak. A lot of them for me are intrinsic, and just noticing how I'm feeling or different experiences. And I suppose I could find some kind of a system that would quantify that. I just don't have it right now.
So the big myth is that coaching is for people who are broken, they're having trouble, they're a big mess. That's not the truth at all. The truth is that coaching is to help people to excel, to go from wherever you are to where you want to go, and to just really, really excel.
Yeah, and I equate it to someone who's a pretty darn good golfer, and they choose to go to a coach to improve their swing. And again, they may only take maybe a stroke, if that, off of their game. However, they find that they're more fluid and the game's more enjoyable. And I really see that in the coaching that I do, and that we see with couples that we work with, that it's more about how we can improve quality of life.
Yep, which part of that comes down to feelings, how we feel. So a call to action is join us to celebrate International Coaching Week. Reach out to us or some other coaches that you know, learn a little bit more about it, maybe experience it. Almost every coach that I know will give free complimentary coaching session to get to know you and to learn more about it. Reach out and really learn a little bit more what it is.
Yeah, and most importantly, have fun.